the last class on the second poem, that is The Cold Within. So yesterday I've explained to you on the five stanzas, which is third to seventh. So today we're going to look at the last stanza, that is stanza number 8. Okay. So their locks held tight in death's still hands was proof of human sin. They did not die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. See here, it's clearly seen or explained that all these people died because of the cold within, not because of the cold weather or the cold without. Okay? So the entire group here, they perish in the end, they died. Why? Because they were all holding their sticks back. They have failed to use to each other just because of the prejudice. They refuse to acknowledge each other's humanity. And in doing so, they die despite having the resources. What is here the resources? Resources here refers to the stick that they have. See, if they would have given their log of wood, they wouldn't have died. They would have been alive. But just because all of them hold back or held back their sticks, that's why the fire died and they died from the cold. So a personification, dead still hand, which you can find here in stanza number 8, is used to highlight the consequences, okay, the cause of the sin that these 6 people were committed. They kill each other through their inaction. And what is the action? They produce the hatred. Okay, that's one of the cold of their heart, the hatred that they have against each other in the group. And this is the way how they end up killing each others. Okay, and they end up killing themselves. Right. So now we have completed with the last stanza. So now let us look at the theme of the poem. Okay, so the main theme of the poem is there are 2. So the first one is lack of emotions in human relationship. Okay, they have no emotions or no feelings. Okay, so the poem embodies the idea of lack of warmth and compassion in human relations. As we see among the 6 people who has a stick of wood, they were all trapped together in the bitter cold, and none of them were agreed to use their stick to keep the fire burning. So we could see that here their prejudice are holding them back, and if they could have united together by throwing away all the discrimination of the caste, the race, the religion, or status, they would have been alive, right? So yes, all these were overwhelmed by the feelings of their anger, their revenge, their enmity. Okay? So the black and white, rich and poor, all are guided by their animosity and bitterness against each other. They refuse to cooperate, and these people are so cold from the inside, and they do not realize that they would have, if they would have been, if they don't put the stick or their stick in the fire, they will all die. And this can be, an instance or a moral to each one of us, that we should learn that it is a shame to humanity, that from this poem we should learn that their end was because of, not because of the cold weather outside, but because of the cold that exists in the hearts, in the minds, and in the souls of these 6 humans. And they didn't even stop their hatred, and they were not ready to help each other. Now let us look at the second one. It's discrimination. So needless to say, I've been mentioning again and again about the discrimination in this poem. So we can see it's the whole thing about the discrimination. So here the poem, he highlights the futility of discrimination on the basis of which human they divide themselves in a society. We could see that even in today's world, you know, we usually divide people, we usually judge people based on their colors, based on their caste, creed, religion, right? Which should not be done. So here, the futility discrimination, it is best expressed in this line. That is, they didn't die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. The cold within, I've just mentioned to you, it's about the hatred that they have. Okay, now let us look at the tone of the poem. The tone of the poem is such a very sad and sorrowful poem where we have learned about the 6 men that were trapped in the bitter cold, right? And to repeat again, all of them, they have the stick of wood, and if they put together, it would keep the fire burning. But what they did, because of their selfishness and prejudice, they were unable to let their ego, and they don't want to cooperate with each other. So these people, they have lost their humanity, and they filled their minds with hatred, condescendence, and revenge. So it is very sad to see that how the bitter weather is repressed by the bitterness in the heart of this individual, which means how the cold weather here, it is shows that it's not as strong as the cold of their heart. They are unwilling to help each other because they do not share the same social, religious, or racial background. Okay? So this poem, he makes us to question, he makes each one of us to question about the humanity. It is ironical that all these people, it was driven by their selfishness and ego, and all of them died from the cold that exists within them. Okay, so that's the tone of the poem. Now let us go to the conclusion. So the conclusion here, it's both conflict, okay, external and internal, which means it has the meaning both outside and inside, like cold without, which refers to the cold weather, and cold within, which refers to the lack of the warmth in the heart. Okay, so the poem here, it ends by stating that the reason behind the death was because of the cold, not because of the cold outside, but because of the cold inside. A cool heart becomes a dead heart, and a dead heart is also a cold one. Okay, so here you see the cold within here represents the hatred and selfishness, but the fire, keep this in mind, I'm going to ask you a question. The cold within, it represents what? The hatred and the selfishness, while the fire, it represents the love and the common good. And the firewood here, it is a symbolic of the prejudice that they have against each other. Okay, so actually they must have let go the stick of prejudice, and they should have burned the fire of love. Okay, so, and a harbinger of death, and keep the fire burning, the fire of life. Okay, you have to keep the fire of life burning. However, because they cannot overcome, they cannot overcome their hatred and apathy, they fail to let go their prejudice, and everybody dies by holding their wood of prejudice. So that's the end of the poem. Okay, so try to understand what's the meaning of cold within and what's the meaning of cold without, and how does it difference, and how did the poet describe them. Okay, so all right, we've completed with this poem, the cold within. Thank you.